Welcome to Art Lounge.
So, what's Art Lounge? It's a space for artists, ones aspiring, or those who enjoy it, to come together and share ideas, thoughts, expression, and creation. So whether you're an illustrator, a writer, a musician, sculptor, comedian, dancer, architect, or someone who enjoys art in general, this space is for you. I'll be streaming daily with a mix of content, and in the near future, I'll be announcing different opportunities for you to participate in. So stick around. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Drawing Comics stream. We're gonna pick up where we left off last time, which is this panel right here with this mug right here. I'm gonna try to finish this guy, and then we're gonna move on to this page, this panel right here. For those of you who are also practicing and trying to learn how to draw comics, post in the chat which comic book you're taking interest in, or which comic book you wanna learn from. What's your favorite at the moment? For me, it is Moonshine by Eduardo Rousseau, or the artist by Eduardo Rousseau. That is my current favorite one, which I will show you guys in the coming streams. some of the amazing panel work over there. Just want to also highlight, to look at the mouth in the original, how simple this little line is, but it's so expressive. Like just this little raise on the lip already gives them like this disgruntled look. I made him look a little bit, I think, sad, as opposed to looking like a pissed off guard. And that has a lot to do with just giving that line of his brow a slight angle going upwards, and bam, instantly his emotion changes. It just goes to show you don't really need a lot of detail to convey emotion. How powerful your line choices are. Almost done with this panel. Just gotta add in some detail for this robe wear, jewelry holding dude. I think that does it, actually, for this panel. Oh no, forgot some of the shadows here. I'd say that's pretty good. And now we can move on to the next panel. Quickly measure this one, since they do look pretty much the same. So here's another like ruler trick. If you're not doing it at the top of the page like I was showing you guys before, to make sure that the ruler lines up, you could do it with the panel itself, right? Just make sure that it's parallel and this space in between lines up. And then you just do it. From here to here, it's about until 8. Now this one is much more narrow than this. You can measure the panel. About that long. So as before, you want to make sure that you're leaving space for the bubbles or the text. So here we got text up here, and we got text down here, which goes up to about like half of the page, or half of the panel rather. So we got that line right here. And I'm gonna kind of eye the wall, because it's not exactly straight. The line has more definition to it. The line varies to give it look that like brick look. So here's another perspective look here. You could see that since you've established this as the top, the bottom of the wall also lines up with this line right here. And then all the bricks inside follow. So the bottom of this brick lines up with this, and the bottom of the floor, or the wall rather. And then the top of this brick also lines up with the bottom of the wall and the top of this section right here. And now we're just going to quickly sketch out with attention to space relationship between objects. So we notice that the top of the helmet over here isn't too far away from the text box right up here. And just to reiterate, that's just a tip in order to improve your hand-eye coordination. So what you see ends up coming out exactly on paper as well. There's just different tools and different methods to nail down proportion. So as far as this guy's helmet, right, we want to start with drawing like the head in a circle. So his helmet is a little bit past the shoulder of this guy, the first guy that we drew. I'm going to draw out his uniform. And since it is a top-down angle, you can notice how all the curves follow. You know, just like the cup shape, right? That we were talking about in the previous stream. Since we are looking down into the cup, the opening would be right about here, and this would be the base being his belt. And then the other cup shape would be the bottom of his figure. So it would naturally curve in the same direction as the waist area. And the same thing goes for his feet. But in this case, his feet are kind of coming out outside of the panel. Can't really notice it. And notice that I'm also drawing out and overlapping the figures. And that kind of helps with the proportion, to ensure that it is proportionate. You're not trying to avoid certain body parts and then finding out that as you're drawing the arm, for example, or the leg, it's not looking correct because you haven't really realized the full figure. In this case, he is being covered by the cape wearer, or the robe wearer. But for the sake of what we were talking about earlier, we're just going to draw this guy out in stick figure form. So notice when I was doing this panel, I started out with drawing the background first to establish the boundaries of like the characters and how they fit within the page. It really helps because now when I'm drawing arm as well, despite knowing that an arm should be this long or that short, you can also use these established boundaries, the backgrounds, as guidance. So you could see his hand is kind of touching, or not quite yet touching the brick. That's in perspective. So now that we kind of created these figures, we could go into the detail. It's crucial to have the details right. And I'm working with like a much smaller page. In the original page, we're talking 17 by 14, I think. Like the comic book page, you got way more room to work with, whereas I'm kind of working with the small frame. But I will transition to drawing on bigger paper. I just want to finish this entire book, this entire sketchbook, have it completely filled before I move on to like bigger pages. So similar to the other figure, since it is a top-down perspective, the curves of pretty much everything that's on the body are facing downwards to keep up with the perspective. So his belt, the end of the cuff, they're all going in the same direction. it is pretty challenging when you're drawing this small to get all the little details that are essential in conveying like an emotion. Like, it's pretty hard to do it with this guy right here because it's such little dots for his mouth, for his eyes, that if you make the dot a little too big, it looks weird. His face looks much bigger than it really is. But challenge accepted. So let me know how the volume is, guys. The little testing seems alright, considering I had some technical difficulties yesterday, especially at the night stream. I want to make sure that the audio is working properly. Don't want it to like mute again or be incredibly low for some reason. Still wrapping my head around the software, but I'm getting the hang of it. In the meantime, just wanted to make sure you guys could hear the content well, or if it needs to be a little louder, or I doubt it needs to be quieter because I've noticed that it does tend to like mute the volume a little bit, or lower the volume rather. It is cool to study like all the little details he does add in order to make the panel more interesting. Like, despite the characters being so small, he still goes a long way to make sure that each one of them has some like interesting lines present. Like, for example, right where his waist is, he has these little tiny details. You make sure that the fur has detail as well, even though they're at such distance from the camera. And despite just being like tiny little lines, they still convey emotion. I think that's really cool. Like just from these little dots for eyes, you could tell that he's still peeved. He has this like Neanderthal expression on his face. The power of lines and being cautious with what kind of lines that you make. I'm also trying to keep in mind to, here's another fun little thing. It's just a squiggle for the floor. But it conveys like a dirty floor or some texture on the floor. It's such fun lines. Yeah, I'm trying to remember to just keep the pencil at a distance as well. Like, I really don't like holding it all the way at the tip. I think there's just something about that where, at least for me, it just puts me into this like really meticulous mode whereas I do enjoy more of like a free flow feel when it comes to drawing. And I think that kind of either helps or hinders. Holding it at the tip, I find that it kind of hinders that process and just really pushes me to like zoom in and start doing little tiny details when there's more to draw on the entire panel. I think the biggest challenge comes in when you're working the smalls, like when it comes to inking. You either have to have like microns to use for such fine lines, which I do want to include. I mean, every single line on here plays such an important role in filling up the space and giving more character to each person in a panel. So like working this small, you really do have to consider that and remember, like, I'm gonna have to ink this. So I might want to make the lines as like clear as possible. Perspective error there. It is coming to almost the end of the stream, but I am going to go over because the previous stream I went over, I was supposed to end it 15 minutes earlier than I did. So to make up for it, I'm just going to keep going with this stream. And surprisingly, I do kind of like how it came out, despite this guy being a bit of a hassle to draw. Again, just because he's like too small. And I'm not working on that professional comic book paper. But I really do like the texture of this paper as well. I was looking at my my other sketchbooks from the other day, and yeah, some of the paper is just so rough. Like if you were to draw a line on it, it would just be these like broken lines kind of. And I noticed that too, like flipping through, just looking at it. But the lines are just way too jagged, and I don't really like that. And this paper feels great, like whatever medium I'm using, whether it's the blue pencil or like a regular HB pencil, it doesn't like grind the pencil down to nothing. And at the same time, there was other sketchbooks where I've had like really smooth paper, and that's awful as well. I don't know, there's something about it. It's like the same sensation if you were to like take it's like too waxy. So I don't know, it feels like you're cutting the paper with a knife no matter what kind of pencil you're using. I don't know. It's like it doesn't hold any of the lead. Like you would have to use like an H6 or something, or an H4 instead of an HB in order for it to really sit well on a paper. And I don't like that either. So like I kind of like right in the middle, like not too coarse, not too fine, just right. Alright, now we're gonna go on to this panel and draw these mugs right here. I really like that face over there. So I think just by eyeing it, this panel looks shorter. Let's take a look. And it's closer towards like a box look then. Yeah, it's just very slightly. Just by eyeing it, it looks shorter, but yeah, it's like really small difference. Okay, we could do that. We could make it slightly smaller. Say right about there. And then what about the width? How much wider is it? I'd say, yeah, it looks like it would be wider than the previous panel. So let's take a look at that panel real quick. And just like having to see the transition from panel to panel, how he's telling the story on it. We got a straight shot, you know, kind of like, I guess the horizon line would be like right about here, I want to say. Whereas in this picture, the horizon line is like up here. But we'll tackle that later. Just looking at the angles, you know, it's not just constant straight shots. You got their backs. The camera is like coming from their back, and you could see them in the background as well. Whereas this one, it's more of a front shot where you see all their faces, and he adds this profile face for dynamic panel work. This one obviously is really dynamic. It's also great and kind of breaks up this mood. You know, you got these characters, you're kind of seeing them up close here and there, and then it breaks up and goes into like an overhead shot. And then here you got the close-up of this guy's face, and you really could see his detail. And you got two characters in the background, and the hat really breaks it up there too. Like it's in the back with the black background to really emphasize its focus. It kind of breaks up the monotony of the panel itself. You know, you got these like solid colors and solid shapes, and then you got something interesting like that coming in there, and I think that's also really cool. There's action there in his hand. He's pointing at something, so within each panel there's like some sort of like interesting element to really break things up. You know, over here you got the hoods, and they're in the back, and they're kind of lined up at this hood-shaped kind of form as well. Then you got this guy holding this piece of jewelry. You're wondering what that is. So just in ways of telling the story so that it doesn't become boring to the reader, I think he's doing a pretty good job at it. And the same thing with this panel, especially this panel. It really breaks it up and gives you an interesting perspective, as if they're like you're a fly on the wall and just looking down at these three characters. Yeah, I like to study it. I like to see different methods of making each panel look engaging, looking cool. Alright, so going back to measurements here, it's this wide, so we're going to make it out to almost touching these spirals, so because it is a wider panel. And again, you could just press up the ruler against the spirals to make sure that you get a straight line going. And we said it's almost touching, not exactly. So line up at the top of the ruler to that panel to make sure we got a straight line. It doesn't really reach the bottom of the panel. As we said, it's a little bit shorter. Just kind of checking out the music there. It seems like it's something that would be like copywritten or something, but I guess not. You know, Pretzel is pretty good like that. Don't want to get flagged for it, but I'm pretty sure this isn't going to be one of them. I thought this, that they would be playing songs that have never been heard before, you know, from like artists that are just emerging or whatnot, but apparently they do sneak in kind of famous ones. I remember this piece. All right, so the same as before, we're going to leave some room for the text. I do like this piece. I like taking a break from modern day music and listening to classical music here and there because it just takes away all the typical stuff that you hear, the trends and all that. It gets a little bit tiresome of having to deal with that, and it becomes pretty monotonous, and it's nice to just hear something that's like completely different. You know, you don't really hear this playing on top 50s or whatever, you know, like this is pure music. There's no lyrics. They're not talking about anything. They're just talking through music. Through instruments. It's actually why I really like Hendrix as well, Jimi Hendrix. I don't know if you guys were able to watch last night's stream, the project stream. Unfortunately, the audio cut off, and I didn't realize it. There was just some like software issue, but thankfully the intro with the interview with Jimi Hendrix was pretty great, you know, and he really, I think, captured music so well. Like, he embodied the guitar pretty much. Like, it became him, or he became it, and he just was able to play all this music and express himself so well with the instrument. I really liked his work. His music is great, and even the lyrics are really interesting, but without the lyrics, you know, just having to be on the topic of instrumental play, like, he really was able to use it to its full potential. That's what made him such an amazing musician. And you could feel the emotion that he was having through how he plays the guitar. And it's not one of those, like, where they're just like, for performance sake, making faces and stuff. Like, you could really see when he's playing that he's into it and he's in his own head, going through whatever his sound is making him feel. Which is pretty cool. I think he's like one of the, if not the greatest guitar players of all time. If you guys haven't seen it, I highly recommend you just check it out. It's like in the first 5 minutes of the stream. That streams at 8 o'clock. Also streaming today. Yeah, it's just a 5-minute interview, and he talks about all the stuff, talking about art, talking about how people become enamored by fame and become enamored by money, and sometimes they lose themselves and they forget about what the entire process is really about. The experience. He just makes a lot of really good points. So yeah, go check that one out. It's about 5 minutes long. Not the best video quality, but it's an oldie, obviously. Some of the points that he makes are worthwhile. Worth dealing with the terrible quality. Alright, I'm getting bogged down by detail. I should be sketching out. As I was telling you guys about it, just sketch out the entire page before jumping into the nitty-gritty details. Bad habit. But it's never too late to start learning good ones. As in all parts of life, it's never too late to start teaching yourself good habits. And I think that's like a common mistake too. They're like, oh, well, that's how I am now. Or it's just an excuse. And people are just using to like not have to. I think it becomes a little bit harder because you spend so many years doing the same thing over and over again. It becomes like kind of ingrained, whatever it is. Like even let's say like smoking cigarettes. Like it's become such a habit and such a dependency. Some people are just like, no, that's how I am now. That's just an excuse because you don't want to put in the hard work of trying to quit. And I think a lot of it, hopefully there aren't too many smokers, and if you are, you should quit. But a lot of it just has to do with the dependency of like having to go to something whenever there's stress around or whenever it is. I don't think it's so much the cigarettes themselves. Like they have like a brain and they're telling you you have to smoke. Like it's more of just your own volition of having to like depend on them if something isn't going right. Same thing for like learning. Let's say drawing or playing music or anything. Really, some people are like, oh, it's too late. I didn't start when I was younger and so on. And I think that's also an excuse of just not having to want to put up with the frustration of like to learn to have like bad outcomes for taking a while to pick up on certain things. They're just like saying this stuff, or it's just become such a common belief that people buy into it instead of just saying, I want to learn it. I'm still going to, just remembering that it's more about the process. It's about drawing. It's about the actual music, playing the instrument, experimenting with all this stuff, than it is about becoming like incredibly amazing at it, which eventually will be the case if you're sticking to it. I'm almost 100% positive on that one. Whether it takes you longer than most or whatever, it doesn't matter. Just on the topic of good habits and stuff, if you form a good habit of having to do it every day, whatever it is, you will eventually become very good at it. It's just a matter of determination. Like, same thing with exercising. You can't expect going to the gym like two times a week you're gonna get like rock hard abs and you're gonna look amazing in just a week or two. Like, it's not gonna happen. It's just having to be persistent, sticking to it no matter what, no matter how you feel. I think one of the best modern day videos that I've seen that kind of really did capture what the process should be like. And it was a video of Shia LaBeouf, and he's doing the do it thing where he's like, just do it. And that's exactly what it is. You just do it. There's no good time. There's no perfect moment. And believe me, I was a victim of that too. I'm still a victim of it in some cases, but learning good habits, right? Getting yourself to do things. There's nothing more to it other than just sitting down and doing it. When I was younger, I used to wait for those moments to come, like moments of inspiration. Where I'm like, I really want to draw right now. And I would sit down, I would draw for 8 hours, 9 hours, but then just go 2 weeks without nothing. Won't draw, won't do any of it. And I noticed that whenever I would just tell myself, just do it. Just sit down and do it. Don't even think about it. Once I do, then I get that same sense of inspiration and joy from, damn it. See? Bogged down by detail, and now it seems like this guy's helmet should be shorter. Yeah, I'll just sit down, and then all that inspiration and enjoyment of having to draw would just come back. And the next day would be the same exact thing. Just do it. There's no time, no excuse, no moment that's better than just doing it. It's like that capricious child in you that just doesn't want to do something, do anything really. And you gotta train it to get over it. And that's how you do it. You just say that in your head, just do it. Just sit down and do it. You don't want to do it too bad. Just do it. A lot of it is pep talk to yourself. There's nobody who's going to convince you to practice whatever it is, whether it's drawing or the instrument. No one's going to come down and be like, hey, are you practicing? Are you playing the instrument? Are you drawing like you told yourself you would? No one's going to do that. So it's a lot of it is just like pep talk for yourself, and you have to just remember, like, this is important. And I think that's also, as I mentioned in other streams, that's the other really important part of like writing. If you get in the habit of writing and then reviewing it the next day, whatever you wrote, you can save yourself a lot of time of having to convince yourself to do or say or think or whatever it is, and just remind yourself instantly. Like, oh, what was it that I was telling myself? Right, to just sit down and do it. Why? Because anything else is going to take too long. And the motivation won't come. It will come once I sit down and just do it. And yeah, and all of it will just kind of pour back in. You'll remember, like, oh, right, this is why, and so on and so forth. So it really does go hand in hand. I think no matter what you're doing, writing is just so important. And it's great for other things too. It's not just about like for hobbies or tasks that you need to remember. It's just in general, it's so good. To write stuff down. It helps you just sort through a lot of things. Whether it's like relationships, emotions, ideas that you've had that you want to remember for like whatever it is, whether it's drawing or music or even academics though. I mean, that goes without saying. I think like for academics, it's like a no-brainer that you have to write. But I think a lot of people who are artists or want to pursue it really underestimate the power of writing, and they focus way too much on this idea that it has to be intuitive, it has to come to you naturally. Like, I don't believe that. I think it's all just whatever works to get you to do the thing that you want to do. I might have to end the stream soon, guys. I think it's going over. But if you're enjoying this, you can come back at 8 p.m. where I'll be streaming my personal project that I'm also very excited about. I'll be continuing that, followed by coloring Conan. So I'll be back to these panels, not this exact panel, but Conan panels, John Buscema's work, later on tonight at 9 o'clock for coloring. At 8 o'clock, it will be the personal project. So if you guys enjoy this content, hit the subscribe button. You'll get notification when I'm going live, as well as like other events that will be coming up in the future. Chances for you to guys participate in. You could also connect on social media where you could post your questions, share your experiences and just ideas that you might have come up with while watching the stream, or just in general to get the community going, talk about art, talk about the process, whatever it is. The social media links are posted on the website. You guys can check those out with more to come. the future. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you at 8 p.m. for the next stream.